Hello, and welcome to another episode of The Music Prophet. Today we have the Dazed in studio.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Let's go through some names first so people kind of know who you are, who's talking.
I am Phil.
Phil plays the guitar.
I do.
I do. I'm Kyle. I'm the bassist, and I also sing.
I'm Mitch. I'm just the other guitarist.
I'm Nick. I'm the drummer. Just the drummer, though. That's it.
Let's jump into how the band actually works as a group. Because I think what's interesting about you guys is that you're all mostly classically trained, and you've all done a lot of different styles, some self-taught, and then others you work with, like the Laurentian jazz bands, and there's technical sides. So how does that mix with the band, do you find?
I think when we first started playing, none of us were that trained anyways. We were mostly just like garage players. We would just play in our basements and hear things out. And I think the fact that we're a little dysfunctional as a group because of how close we are as friends kind of makes it funny to practice and stuff. And as we started progressing or whatever, Phil got into jazz at Laurentian, and I was in fourth year major, so
yeah,
he knows what's up. I played classical guitar at Cambrian,
and me and Mitch have kind of a background with playing in other bands together too, and so we had that chemistry also. And then me and Kyle and Phil had the days before Mitch came on to the whole bandwagon, literally.
No joke intended there.
Yeah, no joke. It's literally the bandwagon. But yeah, it's been awesome just because, you know, at first writing originals when we didn't have any kind of musical background, you know, it was very straightforward, you know, 4-chord tunes. We would play very weird 4-chord tunes, and it was just very simple. But then as soon as we started progressing as musicians, you know, fourth year major in jazz, and then we just all started really getting into our music. That's when the originals started getting a lot more complex. And
I'd say our style has changed.
Oh, for sure.
A lot, especially in the past, I'd say year and a half.
Yeah.
But when I started studying music at Laurentian, that's when it really started changing for me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I just learned all these.
It's funny, in the past year and a half, that's almost the length of our whole band. It's always changing.
We're at like 2.5 now, I think.
Oh yeah,
That's not bad.
Can you take us through that process? Because that happens with a lot of bands.
The creative process?
Yeah, and especially that change when you realize that you can't write 4-chord tracks anymore. And
honestly, we've done it in many different ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes Phil will learn something at school and we'll come back and then we'll work off of a certain technique, but other times we'll just lock ourselves in a basement and just play whatever until it happens. And that's how Better Company came to be. We locked ourselves in Nick's basement and we started jamming out. And as you can hear the song progress, it just starts with the drums and then the bass comes in and then the guitar comes in all separately.
Which is literally how it happened.
How it wrote it, yeah.
Yeah, so
he just started laying down a beat and then
and then you started with the bass, and it's just funny because like exactly how it happened on the track is how it happened. The creative process, that's how it happened.
But I'm sure you guys would agree that's definitely not how it went for all the other teams.
Yeah,
but it's different every single
oh yeah,
time.
for sure.
As like a new member of the group, I get to see like the creative process that these guys take, and it's kind of messed up. They kind of they booked the studio date with the chorus idea.
We
write under pressure. That's how we go.
Going into studio in December, and we have a chorus, and that's
When we decided to do Better Company, we had like 2 songs, and I was like, okay, we got to set a deadline.
Yeah.
So when the album comes out, this was like early last year. And I said, let's pick a date. So I said, does November sound all right? And I said, we think we can get 7 songs for that time. And we kind of just banged out a bunch.
Yeah.
The last track that we wrote for that album was like a few weeks before the album even came out. So it was all very last minute.
I think not overthinking it and just going in and playing makes it better because it becomes more our style that way.
Yeah, for sure. Like we set a deadline for Bad Woman, the last track, which is also the last song we recorded, and we wrote it the day before we went into the studio to record it.
That was hilarious.
That was quite the day that was.
I worked till 9 p.m. that night. We went to Nick's. We walked in. We went to his laundry room because we thought that was the perfect creative setting. And we just sat in there. We wrote a whole song till like midnight.
Me and Nick had been going at it for about an hour.
And nothing was happening.
Not getting anywhere. Kyle just practically bangs in the door, and he's like, "All right, let's go, let's do it." So
I love how you approach it almost like it's school. It's kind of hilarious.
That's a good point.
that sounds yeah. It's like, all right, we got to do a small It's like
It's fun. There's a professional.
Well, yeah.
It's still professional. It's just it's almost like it's like the thought process of trying to plan for an essay that you know is coming due, and you kind of know you'll take a few hours to research.
Exactly.
Might need to edit at one point. Who knows?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like a good example of that is my teacher, Charlotte Leonard. She gave me an example. She said, "Phil, if I ask you to write an essay on anything you want, and you can hand it in whenever you want, are you going to do it?" So we kind of take that same approach to songwriting, where it's like,
If we don't have a deadline, are we really gonna put out something good?
yeah, exactly. We're like, no, we said we would do it, so let's do it.
And it's so weird too, because it's not always like that. Because we wrote The Man I Am. It took us what, a year to write it all. It was an idea at first, and then it wasn't, and then it came back, and then we actually wrote it,
was a love-hate
and we didn't even record it for like 6 to 8 months. It was just a song that we played live.
Yeah, and we're like, yeah, we might as well record it now.
Yeah, might as well record it and put it out. And then it's kind of been like that too lately, because especially with Mitch, we called him Ringo for a long time, because he's always been the guy who writes songs under the radar, and then they're actually good, but no one really wants to pay attention to them until now. You know what I mean? It's hilarious. So just now we're starting to write again since the album, and he's just been banging out songs left and right, and now we're going to be working on a song that he's been working on for quite a while now, and now we finally get to have the whole band, and it gets to come to life again. So it's nice.
We haven't written a song in over a year.
Yeah, so it's gonna be nice to get back out there.
That's the crazy part. Our album release anniversary is coming up here in a couple of weeks. On November 10th, it'll be a year.
We've definitely had ideas. I think our sound is evolving, and then we end up ditching the ideas as they come out.
Yeah.
That sounds about right.
Do you just write a bunch of stuff and then get rid of it when you think it doesn't work? Or is it the opposite, where you make a certain number of songs you need, you hit that 12?
I think that we don't write tunes, but we come up with concepts all the time, and we'll sit in the basement and jam to the same concept over and over again. And then we'll end up ditching the whole concept, but we won't go as far as to writing the entire song and then throwing it in the garbage.
Yeah.
But ideas come and go all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's.
But let's say we have an idea that we really like, then we usually end up writing the whole song, and then we'll probably do something with it.
If we
write a whole song, then we'll probably do something with it, because it's like way too precious not to do anything with it.
I love that.
Yeah, it's not really that much of a choice, is there?
No,
Not really.
Because I don't think that we're at that level where we write songs every single day, and then even if it's not good, because I know like people like Ed Sheeran do that, where they write 5 songs a day.
You know what the thing is though, is I find when we start writing a song, if we don't think it's an unreal song right away, we just forget about it.
Yeah.
And other artists,
Standards might be a little too high.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah,
I would think so.
it's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
Are we coming to realizations on the radio right now?
But can we jump in? Actually, that's a good point though. Like, because goals is important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like setting the bar for what you want your band to be. But is that something that you actually think about, just as a band yourself, or is it one of those things where you're like this, an interview, and you're all of a sudden like, oh wow, well I guess we do that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a hard question.
That is a hard question.
So many layers.
I feel like every once in a while we'll catch ourselves doing something with it. And then one guy will be like, "Oh, you always do that," or something funny like that.
Yeah.
And then it just becomes a thing.
It's funny because like we'll catch ourselves trying to write something else,
Like,
and
it
always
sounds too much like a John Mayer tune.
or it sounds too much like something we've already written.
Yeah, I'm back.
You know what I mean?
I'm back for that.
We all are. That's the thing. It's just funny because that's so embedded in our brain that it's the only songs that we've ever written.
Phil's written the song "Come Again" 12 different times.
It's not my fault.
But you're ready for remix album then?
Oh,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. For days. Yeah.
Just Come Again.
Remixes.
Yeah.
No, but that does happen a lot. We'll start jamming out to a tune, and then you'll start to notice the na 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 in the tune. You're like, oh, there it goes.
It has some similarities, like whether it could be like the harmonic rhythm, or it can be kind of a similar intervals in the melody. It says it kind of jumps at the same.
It's interesting how your sound is such a mix of so many inspirations, I feel like.
Oh man.
Because there is one, like you can 100% tell there's a John Mayer type of style of sound writing, but then the composition is just the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I love the aggressive head nod by the whole band when you mentioned John Mayer.
So yeah, that's it.
Painfully true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find especially in the riffing of the guitar in that song.
Yeah.
But you're right, the composition is a little bit different. We don't quite write like that, but you definitely take inspiration from John Mayer. And
he's a bit more. He uses metaphors a lot. But I think that we're just right to the point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is how we feel, and
from a composition standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Points in that band, we started out, we still are, but we started out almost 100% blues, and we take a lot of inspiration from like Stevie Ray Vaughan, B.B. King, all the Kings.
Yeah. John Mayer and Stevie Ray Vaughan like formed my guitar playing.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
therefore, kind of the band.
And then you start going to school for jazz, and then you're a jazz major playing so many.
And now I listen to just Katie Burrell and John Coltrane. I got so many influences, but yeah.
I feel like we could go for a good hour about everyone that inspires us. And
Yeah.
why.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But how much do you draw from that? Because I'm always, especially like when you listen to your album, you hear so many different sounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you go from John Mayer, and then some songs you can hear the sound of the Black Keys.
I was
Right?
about to say that. Everyone, see, I like to think that we don't draw too much from our inspirations. I like to think it's pretty original. But then we play a song like Better Company, and you hear a little bit of the distortion on the voice, and everyone's like, oh yeah, you listen to the Black Keys, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's like, yes, but that was unintentional.
I think it's just little nuances like that we tend to grab from.
But not on the global scale.
No,
A
not
little
on
things
the-
like just adding some distortion to the voice.
Because we still want to stay our own. We still want to be the Dazed and not the band that's trying to be like John Mayer or the Black Keys or anyone else for that matter.
Yeah.
Is that a struggle for you guys? Because I mean, I know that Mitch you're newer to the band, but do you even find that like when you go to add in melodies or when they know their lead guitar part, do you jump in and say, oh, that sounds like this, can we change it? Or, you know, like what if we went with this sound instead?
Well, I'm pretty like relatively new, like especially the creative process. Like, we haven't done much in that. Like we've jammed and stuff, and it always starts off with another, like as a song that we all know. So of course it always starts as like a John Mayer song, but
As a member who's been there when we used to, right? No, I think that before we used to accidentally pull a little too much inspiration from artists, and we would try to go out of our way to change that. Like if you listen to the chorus for The Man I Am, there's a Black Keys song that accidentally sounds a little similar to that. Not similar.
It wasn't on purpose.
So not similar enough for it to
Yeah.
be bad, but like, you know, but I find ever since we started jamming with Mitch, nothing like that has even come close to happening. The new song we're working on, we dropped, I don't know.
Wait, okay, so
It's not even written.
It's
so.
not written, but we have a solid idea of what it's going to be called and what the hook is going to be like.
It's different.
And you have a deadline for the studio. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it will be a thing.
Yeah, so it has to be a thing at one point because
at one point by November 7th.
Anyway,
Yeah.
about that new tune, I was saying that I think that's like one of the most original sounding things we've ever come up with. I don't think it sounds like anything we've ever done.
no, for sure.
Or anyone I know that played.
Picking around with the acoustic for so long where like anytime I pick up electric, it's just bound to have ideas that won't fit with the other projects I have. So that's the thing about I come to this band, it's like almost anything goes. So
Yeah, especially your background. I mean, I remember when I spoke to Mitch and his girlfriend with their duo Kind Folk, that was definitely a sign that there's so many backgrounds that's in that. And then I imagine when you bring a musician like that into another group who's also diverse, you'll get that extra touch.
Yeah. One thing I find that's pretty cool is it's a little on topic. We play in the Alibi Room quite often, and we decided we'll do like I don't want to call it dumbed down, but like a less intense version of our set with acoustics and stuff like that.
Like a simple,
simple
mellow
version. And
More
oftentimes we get
minimalistic.
his girlfriend Megan to come sing, and we do different tunes. And it totally changes the vibe of how we play, but it sounds so nice, and I find that cool sometimes to bring other people in and just see what they can add.
Yeah. Like on the album too, you got Zach Clement, who's also at Laurentian getting his major in jazz, and he's just insane with coming up with melodies, with sounds, with different kinds of
Souls.
Oh yeah, he's just crazy musician, crazy at coming up with new ideas and
Dedicated. The one night we were writing Over You, and we had Zach on the album, and we decided to bring him in to redo Over You when we released the album, because Over You was already released.
Yeah.
And we wanted him to drop a solo on the first instrumental section we had, because there was nothing there anyways.
Yeah.
So we gave him that part, and he started doing the solo in the studio, and like 3.5 hours goes by, and he still hates everything he's played all night. So he grabs some of the recording equipment, he goes home, and he said he stayed up till like 5 a.m. that night, just tracking the solo over.
Yeah, he was really hard on himself for that solo. But I gotta give him credit though. It was a good solo.
It was a great solo.
we've been able to meet a bunch of amazing musicians that helped us along the way to write. And Jacques Grill is one of his producers slash sound engineer
slash band dad.
Yes,
Good guy.
slash good guy.
He's just a good guy.
But yeah, we've been really what's the word here?
Lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lucky.
I think it's fair to say that our whole album has been kind of just an experiment, kind of trying to figure out what we like and kind of what we're capable of type of things. That's why it's kind of all mixed up in that sense. So, well, I like this song, but I also like this one. Screw it, let's put both of them in there. And
That's the thing too. I find people just like the album for different songs. It's not like there's that one song everybody turns to. Like most of our girlfriends just love that a better company song because how fun it is and come together. Phil sounds nice.
Come together
Again. Come together. That's what we did last night. No, I think Come Again is probably the song that resonated the most.
Yeah, and it's cool now because now we know where we want to go.
Not that we would specifically just rely on everyone else's opinion to
No.
form our music, but it's nice. Yeah,
But personally,
it's feedback. Yeah,
personally, that's also my favorite song
yeah, me
on the
too.
album.
I think
You know
so.
what I mean? So I think that going forward, we know where we want to go with our writing now.
And talking about like being in school and stuff, we wrote the album 1.5 years ago, and when you're in university studying jazz, I'm taking a minor. We have so much more experience from when we wrote the album before.
Yeah.
So we often feel like we're much better musicians now than when we were when we recorded the album. So we're excited to get back into the studio and show everyone what we have now.
a lot has changed in here.
The complexity of what we play. I
would say my understanding of harmony just skyrocketed. Like, for an example, like for the outro of Better Company, that's kind of a technique that I learned at school. That kind of
that's when you were just starting to dabble and learning the new harmonies and stuff.
I had just found out. I'm gonna get a little technical, but I just found out kind of a nice resolution between a minor 2 chord and then making it a diminished chord going back to the 1. I just thought that was a really nice. Yeah. that's a diminished chord. But
And not a single person understood what that meant.
But what
One of those country player tunes out right about now.
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that I discovered a nice tone at school, and I said, "Screw it, I'm putting it into a song."
For those who know the song and don't know what he's talking about, it's the part that goes, ooh.
Can I just play it?
Yeah.
So it's the outro is. That's something I learned at school, and it just sounds so nice.
And we're back.
Give Phil a guitar, you'll have a little music lesson at some point.
Always.
But I kind of like that though, because it adds those nice personal touches.
It's color.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not as tacky as maybe pop songs.
That's what comes back to those 4-chord songs we were talking about earlier. I think it's nice that we can diverge away from the 4-chord songs now.
Yeah.
And the second, like, not even a thought anymore because we know so much more that we can. Why would we limit ourselves to something like that?
And it's almost a nice balance where you can make music for the casual listener, like the friends and the girlfriends.
Yeah.
But then you can also add some things that are for the musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your musicians listening as well.
Oh, yeah, sure. that was actually I'm glad you bring it up. Actually, a couple weeks ago, we were playing at the Red Fang, and I got probably the best compliment I've ever received from our band. It was from Emily Carey.
Okay.
Like internationally, and she said, I think this was after our second set. She said, I think I understand the reason why you guys are so successful. And it's because you draw in all types of crowds, especially the musicians.
Yeah.
She said it's important to be able to draw non-musicians and musicians. So she said, like, by example, she said you guys kind of change cover songs and you kind of add a little bit of the data into there. Like for Superstition, all we did for by example for the third verse, we kind of just ended up toning it down a bit, and we ended up substituting a couple chords. And she said that just grabbed her attention right out of the conversation that she was doing. So musicians would be able to understand like that was something really cool and really different. So that was really and for other people too.
I think
that's a massive compliment, though.
Yeah, those 4 chord songs that we tend not to try to write become our best friends in the bar gigs and whatnot. Even last night we were playing Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy.
That's even a 2-chord song.
Yeah. So we got with that song. It was fun because we have this background where we can play a country song, so we get all the country crowd in. But we were playing in such a rocky way where all the guys weren't saying, "Oh, country sucks." They were dancing along with their girlfriends. So
yeah, for sure.
It's really fun to do with that.
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. And when you're in a live venue, you never know if you're going to have musicians like that.
Yeah.
That's in the space.
It's a gamble for sure.
It is.
So you really got to know your crowd too, right? Like
you play somewhere like Jazz Fest, you're gonna have to try to impress some high class musicians, and it's a little intimidating going up.
Exactly.
And it was.
Yeah.
It was intimidating, but
then you play somewhere like Rocking the Rock Festival on Manitoulin Island, and as long as you're chunking out power chords, everyone's gonna be happy.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's it is interesting you mention the Jazz Fest and the pressure for that. Because I agree. It is the musicians there have been doing jazz for so long, and they're looking for distinct fills. They're looking for those like one note semitone changes.
Yeah, just like those weird things that no one talks about, but they know.
Yeah, they know what's up.
How is that as a band? Did you plan ahead of time?
Yes. That's not even a question.
Practically, as soon as Alan asked me to fill in, I started making a set list.
Yeah, for sure.
I started making a set list. I was like, we got to do this. We got to start now because I can't screw around for that. So, yeah,
it's tough. And so, as a singer, then Kyle, what was your thought behind it? Were you worried about the vocals in comparison, or were you just like, we'll do our thing?
Well, Phil sang most of that gig anyways, but
I did, yeah.
But most of the songs that we picked were cover songs, so you kind of just tried to copy.
Half was instrumental though.
Half was instrumental. Then we played
nice.
Bad News by Leon Bridges, which is like a jazz pop fusion song, and that song's kind of neat because it requires all of our vocals, but it's nothing special.
Mm-hmm. But it's a cool groove.
It is a cool groove.
That's what they're going for too, especially with the Jazz on the Beach stage. The people that show up are looking for just a good vibe.
Well, yeah, and there's also just like some folk who just are out for a walk and decided to set up a chair, so you gotta cater to them as well. So, as long as you're getting a little bit of pop in there, a little bit of jazz, try to make everyone happy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you get to play for the kids and like all the families are just there because why not?
Because it's free.
Why not Sunday? Yeah, it was actually a really nice day. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. Yeah,
and we were tight. We were, but like,
it was one of our better gigs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was great for sure.
And it's funny because we have that power now. I will say to jump from style to style because the night before Jazz Fest we had played Valley East Days, Valley East Days Rock Night.
I forgot about.
So we were playing these insane Bryan Adams songs and Led Zeppelin, and then the next day at what time was it? 2 p.m.
2 p.m.
We were playing Strasbourg Saint Denis.
We were playing like Roy Hargrove, Eddie Harris, just total shit. So I guess when it comes to our multiple influences and music taste, we can kind of take advantage of that and pull it off in a bunch of different sectors.
Are there tricks to memorizing For that, where you jam and you intentionally go to a different style so that you're able to switch like that?
I don't think there's a trick to memorizing, honestly. I think it's just repeating it.
Yeah.
I was a little, when we first became a band and I found out how long an actual show was, it was like 3 45-minute sets. I was mind boggled by the fact that I would have to memorize that many things. But especially when you start like learning a little bit more theory and you know how like chord progressions usually go and stuff like that, and you can start hearing it out and you start to just feel when the chords change.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only thing that requires like specific memorization would be like very specific solos or lyrics.
Yeah, developing a good ear is important. And listening to songs, because you can kind of, if you don't know a song that well, you can kind of guess kind of what the next chord is based on, like your knowledge, type of thing. So having a good ear is important because it just makes listening that much easier.
Yeah, that was probably one of the biggest challenges joining a new band, though, was
we already had
to learn all these songs at once like that, and not only learn their one set for the bar gigs, but also learn the set for the jazz gigs as well. So you're learning,
and then the rock gigs, and then like the blues gigs.
Yeah, so it's,
on top of that, he jumped in when we were prepping for our third and final Clash of the Bands like competition.
Yeah.
And so we put the most pressure on him possible because we're like, if you screw up, the judges will see it every time. And obviously, he did a good job because we ended up taking the win.
Yeah.
So then, what is your do you have the same thing? Do you just know structure, or is it
a nice tablet? Well charged and just practice really.
The fear of getting yelled at practice.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
Phil's just laughing.
But yeah, I had to do the tablet trick. So it was, like I said, there was too many. Now it's nice because I can look at the set list and not stress about it because I know most of them now. It used to be, wow, I only know 1 or 2 songs. Now it's like, don't know 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
And have more fun, and that's funny.
it's that mystery that you're like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Plus, a lot of the songs that we're still playing like have been existing since the first show we've done. Like, we kind of we do mix it around, but there's always some songs that are just fun to play.
I'm betting if we grabbed every song we've ever played live and put it on a set list, we could go for like 6.5 hours.
Yeah, because there's definitely some songs that we've learned
and then stop.
There's some songs that you just can't cut.
Yeah.
When it comes to lyrical content directly, like you said, you want to be direct, but are you trying to write about daily life, or is it more so relationships, music itself?
I'd say about half of it is fictional.
I'm gonna say none of it. I'm gonna say none of it is fictional because let's not lie to ourselves right now.
There's Bad Woman about them.
Oh, that was fictional.
That's what I thought.
But resist the urge to make jokes. No, but most of them are true and unfortunate. Well, now me and Phil are in a relationship, but I feel like a lot of it was me and Phil's misfortune. I'm like, not gonna lie.
Over you, the man I am. Oof, yeah.
Come again.
Yeah. No name dropping will be
Better
necessary.
company. They're all about.
Oh, that's right.
So now that we've come to the
Anyways.
realization, we've now come to the realization that most of them are from past experiences with relationships.
I would say they're the inspiration, but the total outcome. There may be some fictional parts in it just to kind of add some more concept type thing, but it's like it was definitely a base.
I mean, it'd be boring if we just said it as it was.
Yeah, you definitely need to add layers to the song and make sure there's at least a setting.
Yeah,
that's not a real life setting either.
Yeah.
You're gonna take a hit at someone, just make sure it's not too obvious.
Yeah.
Go around the subject.
Just so that they can think about it, just so they're like, is this about me? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, well, also go see the show. Why not?
I don't know. Kyle wrote it.
But as kind of when you look at what you've written and the stuff that hasn't worked for the album, are there some things that was the case because the stories just didn't fit?
I'm not gonna lie, we never wrote the entire lyrics to a song and then didn't use it on the album.
Yeah.
So everything made the cut.
Everything made the cut. Just
For lyrically? Well, maybe we switched some lyrics.
Have you seen my lyric book?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's so full.
They're all for the same songs.
Yeah, but I'd say I'd probably use like half the content I wrote.
Mm-hmm.
I mostly write the lyrics.
So we definitely have some in our back pocket. So.
Yes.
We used to try to be a lot more metaphorical.
Yes.
We used to like come up with these crazy analogies and stuff like that, and then we just started talking about stories and stuff.
Hence the man I am.
Yeah, the man I am heading east.
Yeah. Heading east where? We
Yeah,
don't
it
know.
doesn't necessarily have to be.
It doesn't have to make sense as long as it sounds
In
good.
that general direction.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that is a normal jazz trope.
Mm-hmm.
I find like jazz and blues always has that, like you're heading north,
Yeah.
you're going up, or you're going down.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
Going
kind of like
somewhere to get nowhere.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the whole I'm leaving and I'll stop whenever I feel like it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where.
I'm going on an adventure
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
type of thing.
It's so funny because like I remember me and Phil were in my living room trying to write lyrics for the man I am, and we were this thing where he doesn't know what he wants in life. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't.
You make it Phil sound like a loser.
Yeah.
Stop.
It doesn't necessarily have to be Phil, but you know.
But
It
it
sounds like a broke college.
It
kid.
kind of was. I was going through like kind of a rough
Where you didn't.
phase where I was kind of like didn't like my job, didn't like my program. I think it was kind of just like a moment where I was like, I really need to do a change, which was kind of the basis for all that, and I did it.
Mhm.
But I used like kind of negative frustration for the base of that song.
And then when we finally got all the lyrics down, I still, like, every time I walk into that Tim Hortons in Hammer, I look at the same two seats we sat in, and I was like,
You
that's
guys
what
what songs
first
there
song
too?
was for.
There were so many songs.
Did
there.
you really?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Nice. Good
It's
thing.
a good place, yeah.
Nothing like a
It's like the
Timmy's.
redneck twigs.
I actually thought about that last night when I went into your laundry room. I was like, this is where that moment was born.
You guys only have one album, and then yet you still have those where the song was written stories,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking like we've been doing for 20 years.
right? Talking like your Van Halen, who was
Yeah.
asked how they wrote their like all their classic
Yeah.
songs.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. Yeah, man.
That's what I feel like though. We've been playing music for so long, like especially me and Nick. Every band we've been in, well, I guess officially now,
Yeah.
we've always that was the common thing. Was either Nick was in it, or it was always just the
Mm.
back line was the same.
We used to have a trio, a francophone trio, called Fjord in French, I guess. Where it was kind of like
For Jordan English.
For Jordan. where it was me, Mitch, and Megan, Mitch's girlfriend, who's now in the acoustic duo Kindfolk. I was gonna say Findfolk.
New name option. Yeah.
New name option, just putting it out there. But that lasted what, a good 2 years.
Yeah, that's some verses out of it.
Yeah.
It was a good base from that band. We got to learn with Dan as well.
Dan Bedard, yeah.
Dan Bedard, and staff obviously. So
Yeah.
it's been helping us and Joke as well.
Yeah.
So really, it's all these French bands that were in high school. Some laugh at us, but in reality, it's what started everything
Yeah.
down the road, and it's what's paying our university and college now. So.
Is y'all done?
I mean, it's taking a break.
Yeah.
We just haven't done anything with it. In
It's
a
on
long time.
hiatus.
Yeah.
It's on that
It's
hiatus.
on the
Yeah.
back burner.
Take
Boiling
it.
on it.
Yeah.
Simmering on
working-
one.
We're working on stuff though.
Creative pause.
Yeah. We're working on it slowly but surely.
Sometimes we need that. Well, that's
Yeah.
kind of what we've been doing the past year, really.
Yeah.
We've just been playing gigs on weekends, making money, not really writing any music.
Sometimes making money.
Sometimes making money.
Sometimes.
I think it is an interesting topic because there is that element with you guys that you all do different band projects. Like, well, you have other bands that you're in, but yet there's still that struggle that has to be worth your time. And if we're doing a show, we have to hope that we always get a crowd.
Well, I think, I don't know, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but like I think most of us prioritize this first, and then we do our little side projects with like, the days, just because of like how I'm not going to call it high production, but like a lot of our songs like require a lot of practice and a lot of shots and whatever, so a lot of time is dedicated to this one. Like, if you could fit
There's a
anything
bar
else,
we have to.
like Phil and I
Yeah,
do
we
the
can
wrench and
know.
jazz combo on the side, and the wrench and jazz combo is good and all, but I like it over here at the days.
And the jazz combo isn't set up in a bar
No.
that is like that has a demand to be entertained.
Yeah, you can go home with a pedal board that doesn't have beer on it.
Yeah.
What happened last night? Some guy came on stage and spilled like almost a whole beer on his pedal board.
Oh man, when Joe told me that last night, blacked out. You know what? It wasn't that bad. Like I ended up cleaning a bit. Just basically the cable was really gross.
Oh, okay.
And there was a bit of beer on my tuner pedal.
We went on the
which was about it.
hardest tangent ever there. Now we're talking about bar stories. It's like we're talking about playing the bar, like things that won't happen with the wrench and jazz combo.
Yeah.
We'll be playing at the Red Fang with the Dazed, and somebody knocked Phil's mic, and he ate the mic and basically gave him a fat lip and stuff like that.
Oh my god, I ended up like that. I was bleeding from the mouth after that.
Yeah.
It happened to me.
That does not happen with the LU jazz.
It's happened to me like 5 or 6 times. You know, when just hit my mic and pegged me right in the teeth.
I find with
God.
playing in bars, there's this constant demand to make people dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
hard.
It's really hard to find songs that will make people dance. It's really hard to find to write originals that makes people dance. But I think that we really hit the nail right on when we wrote "The Man I Am."
Yeah, that one
I
is.
think so.
That's a song
that's our most danceable.
that's a song that we can.
You're talking about making people dance in bars, and I find that has like less to do with our actual musical abilities and more to do with us just sitting down and trying to come up with a good set list. Just because, the order of the songs, even if it's all the same songs, when played in different orders, will make all the difference. For them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you have to read the room.
we
Oh, yeah,
know
for sure.
we've got a few songs where it's like, all right, we're gonna play this one. We know we're gonna get people on the dance floor,
Mhm.
and then like these next songs, like maintain them on the dance floor.
Yeah.
Then you gotta hit them with a banger again so that they stay. Like after it's a weird strategic.
Yeah, because you have to hit all the points that you need, right? Like the
Mhm.
people that dance to a bass line
And-
versus some who like the electric lead versus
Yeah.
drums.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot that goes into planning on a set list.
But if you go too long with the dancing tunes, and you'll hear some people in the crowd go like, "They're slow," or like, "I want to grab my girlfriend and slow dancing or whatever." Yeah. There's a balance.
Yeah, I think that's I think on the point of balance thing, that's a good way to end it too.
Yeah.
And so tell us where we can find you guys. Talk about your album or like where like the platforms it's on, and yeah.
Well, we're on all the major streaming services. So we're on Spotify, Apple Music,
Amazon.
Amazon too. Yeah, that's right.
YouTube.
Google Play, iTunes, YouTube, like
Facebook, Instagram,
so,
name it.
So many places.
As I understand too, we're on Twitter now.
Are we really?
Yes, we are. I got us. I made us a Twitter account.
I don't even follow.
So
it.
if you like us on Facebook, the first post that we have pinned on is the links for our album in most of the bigger websites.
And also, if you go on our Spotify page and our Facebook page, you'll find every single one of our shows posted on there as an event.
Yeah.
We're sharing them all the time. And
Always letting people
We're
know
pretty
what's
active
going
social
on.
media. We have Instagram as well.
we got a little too many shows booked up to start naming when we want people to come out.
Yeah,
So just go look at our events.
But they can go online and find it, right?
Yeah.
That's the best part. Thanks for listening to The Music Prophet. It's cool. I appreciate you guys came in.
Thank you very much.